Hello, welcome to this segment of Know Your Candidates, sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Thurston County and TCTV. My name is Nancy Scott, and I'll be the moderator in this segment. We'll be meeting the candidates who will be running in the August 17th primary for County Treasurer. We have Sean Myers, Tom Nelson, Noah Crocker, and Bill Pilkey. They'll be giving you introductory statements, and then we have some specific questions relative to issues that the county treasurer will be dealing with. We'll be starting with the opening statements with Sean Myers.
Thank you. I am the Thurston County Treasurer. I was appointed to this position by the 3 county commissioners 2 months ago. They appointed me because of my many years of experience. I have over 30 years of experience in accounting related to banking, investments, and revenue distribution. 12 years of community banking experience, 3 of which as Vice President and Controller for the Bank of the Pacific. I have 15 years of people management experience and 19 years of experience working in virtually every aspect of the Thurston County Treasurer's office for 3 different Thurston County Treasurers. I served for 5 years as Chief Deputy Treasurer, second in command, responsible for managing the cash and investments as well as office staff. Besides collecting property taxes, the Treasurer's Office is also responsible for managing the cash and investments of the tax dollars collected on behalf of the county and the taxing districts. I managed $250 to $400 million on a daily basis, monitoring economic data and building a strategy for ever-changing conditions. Decisions I made generated millions of dollars in investment earnings for the junior taxing districts and the county. One of my first priorities after being appointed was to make sure that we exhaust every effort to help families and seniors who are faced with tax foreclosure issues. I delivered on this promise my first week in office by reinstating a policy that allows us to collect only the 3rd most delinquent year of property taxes instead of the 3 full delinquent years. This could be the difference between $3,000 and $10,000 this year. This will give them another year to recover from the different reasons, including job loss or medical issues. I have other changes in the works and would be happy to discuss them here or with the voters at any time. So I'm working hard for the citizens of Thurston County now, and I have already proven leadership skills during my previous 19 years in this office. Please compare my experience with the other candidates, and I'm sure you will agree that I am the most qualified candidate for this position. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Myers. Tom Nelson, your opening statement.
Thank you. I'm Tom Nelson, and I have the most extensive experience in the banking world. I have over 14 years of community banking experience working with hundreds of businesses, small, medium, and large, to establish their loans, obtain cash management, including credit cards, remote deposit of checks, and in general, I stay ahead of their financial needs. And in these difficult financial times, we need someone who can be watching very carefully the money that's coming in and how it's spent in our county government. One of the things that we're faced with is that we have a lot of wants and we have a lot of needs, and we need to make sure that we have a strong financial base from which to work from. And my background is in the private sector, so I have a set of fresh eyes that can come to this office and allow for greater flexibility and a way to look at processes in a new light. Coming from community banking, I've been very invested in this community, and I want to make sure that we make it the best that we can. One of the things that I have is a background in, my education background is an MBA from a top 20 business school, and I've worked hard to make sure that my education will be a foundation for what I do in this office as treasurer. I also have extensive community service working in taxes, helping the AARP in their tax aid program. I've trained the tax preparers to do hundreds and hundreds of tax returns over the last several years. So my experience has been working with in management of volunteer organizations as well as in the business community. One thing that I want to do is I want to make sure that those who have missed the deadline for their taxes get a reminder postcard. If people missed it just inadvertently, they should know right away before paying greater taxes and penalties. I appreciate the look at my resume and look forward to talking about all the issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Crocker.
Hello, my name is Noah Crocker, and I am seeking your vote to be the next Thurston County Treasurer. I've been a resident of Thurston County for 20 years. I graduated from Olympia High School, received a BA in Business and Finance, and have earned my master's degree in finance from the University of Washington. I've developed a wealth of experience from working at the State Treasurer's Office with state and local governments. I am the only candidate that has issued over $600 million in bonds for state and local governments to finance essential equipment and real property. I offer a fresh set of eyes and ideas to Thurston County to move us into the future. I am running on treasury management and financial experience. It should be a requirement for the next county treasurer to have an educational background, not a luxury. It should be a requirement for the next county treasurer to have trained municipal treasury management experience, not a luxury. I have both of these, and I believe in these difficult financial times, we need a county treasurer with both. I am running because I believe we don't do enough for the county to help our junior taxing districts. I want to bring my experience to help our fire districts and school districts save money and improve their facilities. I am proud to be the Democratic Party nominee for this position. I am honored to be endorsed and supported by the Washington Federation of State Employees Local 443. I'm honored to be endorsed by the current State Treasurer Jim McIntyre, the former State Treasurer Mike Murphy, Representative Sam Hunt, Representative Brendan Williams, the City of Olympia Mayor Doug Ma, the Mason, Douglas, and Grays Harbor County Treasurers, and many, many others. These folks are all supporting me because they respect my work, and they believe I am the best choice to lead Thurston County into the future. I appreciate your vote and support for this position. Thank you very much for your time, and look forward to the Q&A session.
Thank you. Mr. Pilkey.
Thank you for watching. I am Bill Pilkey, a business owner, certified financial planner, economist, and president of the Thurston County Taxpayers Association with decades of strong financial and management experience. I am a fiscal conservative, independent, a statesman who will tell you what you need to know, not a politician who will tell you what you want to hear just to get elected. I completed most requirements for a PhD in public administration and finance, taught these courses at 2 universities, and was treasurer for 2 statewide and 4 local organizations. I will raise the treasurer's office to higher levels, deposit taxpayers' dollars in Thurston County banks to create new jobs, not in national banks, and will fight for fiscal responsibility and budget reform in county government. I will continue to inform the voters about major county fiscal problems, like the $50 million super jail built without a vote of the people, with no money to operate it. I strongly oppose government budget deficits and debt, and oppose the state income tax on middle-income wage earners with no constitutional guarantees. I am a former chief fiscal analyst for the House Republican Caucus and a former chief executive of a statewide government watchdog organization. If you elect me, I will serve you with honesty and integrity, protect your money like it was my own, accept no money from banks or special interests like unions or big business. If you want someone who will stand up for you, vote for Bill Pilkey for county treasurer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our first question will begin with Sean Myers. Sean Myers, do you believe that Thurston County's sources of revenue are adequate to maintain services at the current level? And could you elaborate a bit, explain your answer?
Well, definitely they're not. The revenues have been declining for a few years now, and this year will be another tough budget decision-making year for the county commissioners. The revenues are flat and expenditures are going up. I know that my other county officials and electeds have already taken many cuts out of their operating budgets, and this will be, again, another tough year to make these hard decisions. Hopefully it won't come down to more layoffs, but that has been the trend over the last couple of years, and it will be unfortunate. I know that there is a lot of talk out there about a county charter. I have read a lot about this idea. This isn't something that could be implemented in a year's time, but it does have some ground, and I look forward to looking into that even further.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Nelson, do you believe that our sources of revenue are adequate?
No, it's going to be difficult. The biggest sources of revenue, property taxes and sales taxes, have obviously hit bottom, and they're going to be down for a couple of years. And part of that is because we're not spending, and the property values have gone down. And there's a lot of discontent with property values going down, but property taxes still staying high. And we're going to need to cut back as best we can on the county level in order to make sure that we have everything that we want to be funded. And unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of pruning in the county garden, so to speak, to make that happen.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Crocker, adequate sources of funding?
No, absolutely not. Revenues have been on the decline for a number of years. The real estate market has tanked, as everyone is very much aware of, and with the sole primary sources being property tax and sales tax, those are your base revenue drivers are going to drop. The problem is that unemployment is also on the rise, so services that are being demanded are on the opposite side of the spectrum, so they're increasing. So while our revenues are decreasing, our expenditures and services demanded are increasing. This isn't a problem unique to Thurston County. This is a problem that every state is dealing with, that every county is dealing with, and that we're dealing with nationally. So it's going to be another tough year for the commissioners. It's going to be another tough year for the county. But I believe that we can come into the county treasurer's office and help save money. I think that's where we need to put our focus as treasurers, is that the revenue's not going to come in, but where can we reduce expenses and help save money on the operating budget side. My focus is going to be on saving fire districts money and help saving school districts money, hopefully to alleviate some of that pressure on the budget.
Thank you. Mr. Pilkey?
Thank you. I've spent many, many years talking with county commissioners about their financial problems. 2 years ago, I forecasted a $10 million deficit in the county general fund. They solved this by taking reserve funds and borrowing money from the county road fund, which they don't intend to pay back. And that got them out of the problem last year. Revenues for the general fund have pretty much leveled off at $74 million. But of course, they had to cut back on certain areas such as the deputy sheriffs, and this has been a problem too. We have a situation whereby the jail has been built, but there's no money to fund it. And no one's really wanted to tell you about that, but that's what's been happening. They need budget reform. They haven't done a lousy job of analyzing the budget. They do not have economic and revenue forecast. And so there's a lot that the county treasurer can do to save the people more deterioration of their concern and the desire to support government. And I think that the county treasurer should be standing up for the people.
Okay, thank you. Yes, we're happy not to be in California. Okay, our next question, we'll begin with you, Mr. Nelson. The treasurer invests county money not immediately used for county functions. Keep in mind that there are diverse taxing districts and many funds overseen by the treasurer's office. What experience do you have with investing that would support this function of the treasurer?
The county treasurer invests about $400 million. It could be anywhere between 250 and on up of the county's money, and part of that is for the school districts, the fire districts. And so that money needs to be invested wisely and safely, and I would hope that we could make more money at the county level than we can at putting the money with the state, the LGIP. So the goal of the treasurer's office is to make more money than the LGIP so that we can make sure that that money goes back to the county. I've been the Homeowners Association treasurer in my neighborhood, and we haven't invested millions of dollars like the county has, but we've made sure that the money is safe and that we've budgeted money long range out for additional trees in case the mailboxes are destroyed, for things in the future. And so my experience is looking into the future and making sure that we have that money. On a personal note, of course, I've invested for myself, but I want to make sure that our money is safe and kept just as safe as it would be with any national government fund, and not invested in unwisely in stocks or bonds or something that would be risky.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Crocker, your experience with investments?
Well, while working at the State Treasurer's Office as a bond program manager, that's one thing you do is you manage and issue debt, you issue bonds. So I have direct experience with investments of bonds with other state and local government securities, which we call slugs. But what's important to know about me is my philosophy on investments. I believe in the basic philosophy of safety, liquidity, and yield in that order. We need to ensure that the county's funds are safe, secondly, liquid. At the very last, you shoot for yield. But that's not your top priority as county treasurer. Your top priority is to ensure that the cash is safe and liquid. Now, what's good about being in municipal treasury management is that the investment world in which you can purchase securities is limited. You cannot purchase stocks. You can only purchase agency notes, treasuries, some municipal bonds. So the world of investment securities is not completely open to you as a municipal treasury manager, which is good because then again, it goes back to our three basic philosophies of safety, liquidity, and yield for our county dollars.
Okay. Mr. Pilkey,
Thank you.
your
What do you put that camera?
experience with investments?
Yes. I have about 20 years experience in financial planning, and as a certified financial planner. 4 years ago, I told my clients to get rid of their stocks and be a little more caution about their investments. And most of them didn't do it. And of course, we had that downturn. We are still facing economic problems in the future. And even though I'm very good as an economist, forecasting revenues as well as the economy, I still feel that the Treasury can only do so much. We're not talking about putting money into stocks and bonds like the state did and lost a bunch of money. What we need to do is, as the other gentleman has mentioned, make sure there's a safety in where we put the money, because we can see that there's very low interest rates right now for money, and we want to make sure the money is not necessarily always going to be guaranteed, but at least it'll be in a safe situation. I also feel that we should be aware of the economic returns as well as the future and invest accordingly. I don't like to use the word investment because we're putting the money into banks. Thank you.
Ms. Myers, your experience with investments?
Currently, the County Treasurer's Office is managing $550 million. We have $120 million in the state investment pool and $443 million in government securities. The LGIP is earning about 0.3% at this time, and our Thurston County investment pool is earning about 2%. So it's performing well. My past experience as manager of this investment pool for 5 years was very successful. My performance was evaluated based on beating the state pool by 25 basis points, and I surpassed that by at least 1% in all the 5 years that I was managing the cash in investments. So I do have the most experience at this table in investing this current investment pool.
Okay, thank you. Okay, our next question will begin with you, Mr. Crocker. Thurston County has experienced significant reductions in both property and sales tax. What would be your recommendations to bring in more revenue to the county?
Well, again, like what I would like to advocate, what I'm going to focus on is operating expenses. I want to help us save money on the expenditure side. So my focus is going to be on helping fire districts and school districts save money. What I want to do is I'd like to create a program to help junior taxing districts evaluate and understand their own credit quality. I believe it's important for the county treasurer to help their taxing districts understand their financial condition better and aid in good decision making. because we need to be cautious in how we leverage taxpayers' dollars, and we need to be more proactive in building up reserve balances. This type of program requires someone with experience. Fire districts in particular are in need of support and partnership for when they're out there looking to do bonds for new fire stations, for equipment. As a banker on their behalf, we can help save them money on the interest rate, help save money to the taxpayers for when they're levying for the taxes for the repayment of these acquisitions. School districts, on the other hand, there is a significant push in this state for energy efficiency upgrades. And there is lots of money sitting on the table offered by federal governments and state agencies to do some energy upgrades. As county treasurer, I want to partner with school districts, help them through this process of obtaining an ESCO to do these energy efficiency upgrades, but also partner with them for when they're securing their own funding sources. They're going to need to go out there and talk with bankers to either get loans or issue their own bonds. I want to be a banker on their side and advocate at the table with them to help save money on the interest side. The benefit of this is that we can upgrade our schools at zero expense to the operating budget. The energy efficiency savings are supposed to offset the debt service. So the lower we can get the debt service, the more we can save on the interest rate expense, the more energy upgrades we can do to our facilities and schools and get greater schools.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Pilkey.
I'll take issue with that first comment. We have not reduced property tax collections in Thurston County. They've leveled off, but they have not been reduced. Sales tax may be down a little bit, but as far as the county is concerned, they've done very well with the property tax. That has not dropped. Construction was less, so that didn't help matters at all. What we're looking for is we have problems at the federal level, state level, and local level, which will increase, and we have to be aware of the fact that people have lost credibility in government. We need to have a close relationship with the public so they are willing to be able to, if necessary, pass special levies. They have to have money to fund the jail, which will take about $7 million a year. The money's not there, but the jail is sitting there unoccupied. It may be there for 5 years. I know government spending, I know government reserves, I know government tax collections. I know that we have troubles, and I don't see very much change in the next couple of years in terms of tax collections at the federal, state, or local government. At least the feds can borrow money. The state and local governments cannot do that.
Okay. Sean Myers.
Yes, you know, the only way to increase revenues that I know of is to increase taxes. And those are limited, property taxes are limited by initiatives that's been passed in the last 10 years. I think what we need to do is find efficiencies in what we do and how we do it in our processes. Currently, my operating budget in the Treasurer's Office is $85,000. Half of that is spent on just sending out the property tax statements and printing them, mailing them. I believe that, you know, since there was a House Bill 2962 that was passed this year in the legislature that will allow the county treasurer to electronically bill and electronically pay property taxes based on electronic funds transfer and through the electronic delivery of an invoice. I think that every department needs to find those kinds of ways to save tax dollars and the revenues that we do currently have.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Nelson, how would you deal with reductions in taxes?
Okay, and you asked whether we should increase the amount of revenue coming into the county. I would say we don't want to increase the revenue coming into the county. Now is not the time. Now, in a couple of years, or in a few years when businesses are doing better, they will be more than happy to pay their fair share of taxes. But for the next couple of years, the economy is going to be on the decline, and homeowners and property owners, business owners, do not want to increase their taxes. I was a member of the Olympia School District Facility Advisory Committee, and we helped put together the amount of money that we would ask for in the last levy. And I was very proud to say that I was a conservative voice on that in saying that we only need to do right now the minimum to make sure that our schools are kept clean, safe, and dry. And what we did is we made sure that there was a roof on Capitol High School and some other things. And the reason I bring this up is because right now is not the time to increase revenues. It's not the time to ask for additional taxes. If we can support business growth, that tax increase will come over time.
Okay. Okay, our next question will begin with you, Mr. Pilkey. What is your assessment of the property tax cap relative to maintaining county services?
Well, it's a yes and no question because people, I have done a lot of work in being a government watchdog. I got paid for that. Today I don't. But I know that most people who are informed properly and have faith in government will pass special levies even if they're hurting. I did a study years ago that showed that even the poorest school districts would still pass special levies even though they couldn't afford it, but they had good relations with the school districts. And so I think that the problem right now is going to be the fact that people do not have that type of relationship. As far as the property tax is concerned, the levy lid has hurt a lot of, whether it be city, county, school district, whatever, it has hurt them. They could go higher. But in terms of collecting property, even though the property values have gone down, they can still collect the same amount. I would, if the county government, for example, or a city or a school district would come out and say, hey, we have a problem here, we need the money, will you support us? And if they were honest with the people, which they have not been in the past, especially the county, then I think the people would vote for a property tax increase and even a sales tax increase if that were necessary. You have some tax increase proposals on the ballot for this fall and also in the primary. So people have to realize that when there's a need, they will support it. But you got to prove that there is a need, and I think the county government has not done that. They have kind of hidden from the people this new jail that's sitting out there vacant. You have the dust and sawdust and may be there for 5 years before they can open it up. But the economy will not be getting better for the next couple of years anyway, maybe even 4. We don't know yet. But when the federal government has to borrow 1/3 of its budget, then we know we're in trouble too. The state government next biennium will have maybe a $10 billion deficit. That's my figure right now. And they won't be hiring more people, they'll be laying off people. This will impact county, Thurston as well. Thank you.
Okay. Sean Myers, your position on property tax caps?
Well, I do believe that property taxes are where they should be at this time. I mean, with the limits that we have on raising property taxes, I don't think anybody's interested in paying more property taxes. I think that the budgets can sustain somewhat with the levels that they're at now, given that the economy turns around and comes back, and that's going to take a year or two for that to happen. People are not going to want to pay any more property taxes, especially in this economy, so I'm not in favor of raising that.
Okay. Mr. Nelson?
The 1% hasn't been an issue for several years with the increase in property taxes, but now all of a sudden it's a big issue. And unfortunately, it's an artificial number that's been put in place, this 1%. And in a perfect world, it would be nice if government were allowed to increase it as much as they want or not as much as they want. But unfortunately, we know human nature is that government may ask for too much money. And so there's been a lot of mistrust. And I think that the 1% cap is going to be the maximum that we could ask for at this time, and I think it's appropriate right now.
Okay. Mr. Crocker?
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Nelson that the 1% property tax has created issues for our local governments. It's caused them to have to do more with less, and it has been there because of the mistrust. The 1% tax is there, but it's requiring our districts to think harder, to try to become more innovative, become more efficient, because they cannot just go to the voters and try to get a larger property tax increase. So I think, again, what we need to do is find more areas where we can increase efficiencies in government, helping our districts and our county perform at the levels that the revenues that's given. As a government, our job is to provide services within the budget that we're given. And even in bad times and good times, that's our charge. So we need to continue to fulfill that charge, even in this property tax cap environment. But I think what's more important is as we move out of this economic environment, right now a lot of people are upset about their assessed values. We need to have more time taken to look at the assessed values to ensure that property taxes are being assessed properly.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going to ask one last question. I want a quick answer. The treasurer is a partisan office. You run as a Democrat or Republican. What do you see as the advantages or disadvantages? Are you better served by having the office partisan, or should it be nonpartisan? We'll begin with you, Sean.
Well, I know that there are 6 counties in the state of Washington that are charter counties. All but one have left their treasurer as an elected position. King County has an appointed position. And I believe that, there should be some independence there as the elected, because we have so many other customers that have their own boards and commissions that we serve. And those are the school districts and the fire districts, the Port of Olympia, Intercity Transit. We serve them better, I believe, as independent. And if I were appointed by an executive, county executive, I would be also answering to that level as well. But I also believe that an appointed position would take more money to, the salary would be higher if you were appointing those positions. They'd be recruiting from, nationally possibly, so.
Okay, Mr. Nelson, partisan, nonpartisan, Dem, Republican, how?
I don't think that it's necessary that we have this as a partisan office. No one in this position will be able to affect major legislation, especially legislation that really hits at the moral fiber of our society. Money is not red and it's not blue, it's green. So whenever we are working with whomever in Thurston County, then it really has no bearing on the partisanship of the office. I think that integrity and professionalism, which is the motto of the office right now, is the best thing that we can do to maintain trust with those who we talk to. And collecting taxes and investing that money on behalf of the taxpayers, it's a very deep personal issue for them on a personal level. And we don't necessarily need this to be a partisan office. And that can be an issue that we can talk about, such as a charter government. We can talk about that in a future question.
Okay. Mr. Crocker, partisan, nonpartisan.
In my experience at working at the state treasurer's office, which is a partisan office, and it has been filled by a Democratic office for a number of years now, we run it like a state treasury. We do not take party sides. We run it as it should be run. We are managing people's money. And that's what I believe we should do at the county as well. I am a Democrat. I'm proud to be a Democrat and run on the Democratic ticket. But when I get in and run the treasury, I'm managing other people's money. I'm taking care of doing the accounting, the reporting, the investing. It becomes less partisan and more financial experience, educational experience, and we need to continue to promote that. It needs to be run as a bank. It needs to be run as a treasury. Those are my thoughts.
Okay. Mr. Pilkey.
Thank you. I'm running as an independent Democrat because I feel that there are good parts on both sides and some that are not, but also independence is important too. I don't believe that the county treasurer should be a partisan office. And I'll give you an example. We have quite a few partisan Democrats, you might say, in office. I'd say the same thing about Republicans, but the treasurer not only is managing the treasury, but also should be standing up for fiscal responsibility in county government. That does not happen. We have 3 county commissioners who don't understand budgets. They don't understand finances. They don't understand how to do a budget or do revenue or economic forecasting, and that has got us into trouble. But we heard nothing from the treasurer's office for many, many years about doing something about this, and you should, because the only person out there who is, you might say, fairly objective is going to be, and nonpartisan, is a treasurer. We have, that's why I would be in favor of combining many of these offices into a nonpartisan, even though the parties will still have their own people, but they don't tell them they're Republican or Democrat. But the independents are getting stronger all the time. We need to have, I would feel, that a county charter, since we're running out of money and will continue to do so for a while, the time is now. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you. We'll go to our closing statements, but there's a question I kind of wanted to ask, but we really don't have time. If you would address in your closing statements the issue of elected, I mean, it's kind of related to this issue of partisan, nonpartisan, but you're in an elected position rather than appointed. Mr. Pilkey, we'll begin with you, your closing statements, and would you include in your closing statements your position on whether this should be an appointed rather than elected?
Thank you for waiting for the light to go on. Thank you for watching. You have an important decision to make, not just voting for county treasurer, but also for state legislators and Congress. And to answer your question, I believe this should be appointed. No doubt about it. I've seen what happens with politics when I work for the legislature with both sides of the aisle, and it should be appointed. Find out who owns your vote. Candidates who take money from banks, unions, and big business do not put your interests first. They owe their loyalty to the money changers, not to you. Study the issues and the candidates. Then decide those who vote for a straight party ticket. Without this study, do not think about the future. Neither party has all the answers. They just want all the control. I do not take money from special interest. I will owe my loyalty to you. I will fight for jobs, fiscal responsibility, and against government deficits and debt at all levels. President Kennedy said, "Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country." Vote for Bill Pilkey for treasurer. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Crocker, your final statements, and if you would include your ideas about elected or appointed.
Sure. Well, thank you for this afternoon. I appreciate you inviting me. My name is Noah Crocker. I am seeking your vote to be the next Thurston County Treasurer. And in regards to whether this should be an appointed or elected position, I absolutely believe it should be an elected position. As an elected official, there is greater transparency and accountability. An elected position provides independence managing public monies, as well as a check and balances between the clerk, assessor, auditor, and commissioners. The treasurer also serves all local government entities, including schools, ports, fire districts, and is accountable directly to the citizens. As your next county treasurer, I'm going to work hard to help our fire districts and our school districts save money. I'm running on treasury and financial management experience. I am looking towards the future to help us manage through these difficult and financial times. And most importantly, I want to help us reduce costs to taxpayers.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Nelson, your final statement, and if you could address the issue of elected versus appointed.
Thanks, Nancy. I think this position should be elected. And the reason I do is that if we disagree, we as voters, if we disagree with the job that the treasurer is doing, we can vote them out. If they are appointed, then it will be a lot more difficult to find out how the treasurer's office is investing our money. And there is a lot of mistrust, and we need to build that trust back up in elected officials. I will act as a consensus builder in the courthouse, working with all of the different agencies, just as I've done in my banking background, working with hundreds of businesses and different constituencies. I'll make sure that we do a good job of helping people understand the process and how they can best be served by the treasurer's office. I'll work with honesty, integrity, and safety to keep our investments in the best interests of the public. And I'll gather groups of constituents together. I've talked to title companies, I've talked to bankers, and I've received endorsements from them, as well as Republicans and Democrats who support me and want to make sure that we have a fresh set of eyes in the county government. I have received endorsement from Ralph Monroe, from Sam Reed, Kim Wyman, Betsy Spath, CPAs, and local governments, and I appreciate the vote for Tom Nelson.
Thank you. Ms. Myers.
Well, under the current county government structure, the treasurer doesn't have authority over the budget process. I've certainly offered my cooperation to help the county commissioners in their budget process this year, and have offered up one of my accountants to work on the budget team. As far as elected or appointed, there are pros and cons on both sides. I've already said that I think that it should be an independent elected position. I believe, because of all of the other county taxing districts that we serve as our customers. There is no other candidate that has my 25 years of Treasury management experience in the private and the public sector. There's no other candidate that has my 15 years of people management experience. No other candidate has my 19 years of experience working in virtually every aspect of the Thurston County Treasurer's Office. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for letting me participate in this forum, especially during this year of the 100th anniversary of women's suffrage. I exercise my right to vote and take it very seriously. I have a perfect voting record and other candidates do not. Because of this group, I have the right to vote and hold this elected office. Thank you very much, and again, my contact information can be found at electionmyers.com or by phone at 556-1048. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And thank you for being with us during this segment of Know Your Candidates. We've been meeting the candidates for treasurer. Thank you. This has been sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Thurston County and TCTV. We encourage you to vote in the August 17th primary. Primaries are often disregarded, but they can be very important. One of these four people will be your treasurer, and in the general election, you won't get to vote for all four. So do vote in the August 17th primary. And thank you for being with us.